I've broken my new record of not wearing mascara for 2 months straight to record this podcast, so here's hoping it's worth it. Hi, my name's Mary and welcome to the first episode of my knitting podcast. This will be my small corner of the internet to discuss what I have been knitting recently, patterns I like, any yarn that I've found that I've decided I can't live without, and also hopefully a place to discuss my own yarn related projects that are currently in the making. I can't say any more about them right now. Sorry, I'm starting out by being one of those podcasters, but I hope this will also be a platform for that. So maybe just a little bit about me first of all. As I said at the top of the episode, my name's Mary. I'm 30 years old and I'm currently living in the south of Germany. I am not originally from Germany. I'm from Scotland, the north of Scotland, pretty close to the shores of Loch Ness. And no, I've never seen the monster, but I always look. Right now I'm living in Bavaria, in a city more or less halfway between Nuremberg and Munich, and I've been living here for the last seven and a half years. Time flies, God. I originally moved over here because of my boyfriend, now fiance's, work, but I've since integrated myself as well, and I work as a copy editor and copywriter at a company that manufactures medical products. So it's a bit of a difference in the day job compared to the knitting world, but my colleagues are all fascinated and I get to show off all my knitting projects to them. So I figured I'll start by taking the usual format that all knitting podcasters I watch tend to use, and discuss what's on my needles. I'll show you everything that's on my needles right now. It's a fair few things, although it must be said that on the needles is not strictly true, because it appears that I have been knitting things exclusively on 4mm needles lately, and as a result I keep having to take the needles off, put on a stopper on the cable, and put them back on another project. Yeah, so most of them are on the cable rather than on the needles, but yeah, we'll see. It has to be said that 4mm needles, definitely my desert island needles. Apparently it's the sweet spot that I like between 2 tiny stitches and 2 big stitches. So if I ever find myself in the unlucky situation where I have only one set of needles to choose from and must go and live on a desert island, also not really my jam considering I don't like it when it's hot, the 4mm ones are what I take with me. So let's start with what I'm wearing just now, and I'm wearing my Felix pullover, sweater, jumper my Felix pullover by Amy Christopherson. I love this jumper. I wear it like all the time, like really all the time now. I'm currently working at home. I love the colour, I love the yarn, and it's super relaxed and snuggly. This is knitted out of a mystery lamb's wool that I found in a shop in Dornoch, which is just to the north of Inverness in Scotland. The last time I was there, oh god, that was a long time ago, thanks COVID. And it sat in my stash for ages and I didn't know what to do with it, and then I knitted this. This jumper actually, after coming off the needles, also sat for a very, very long time not being worn because, I don't know, this shop, it had lovely wool, but I don't know where they'd been keeping it. It kind of smelled like it came from the basement, or not even the basement, like from someone's cellar, and it all smelled pretty damp. I mean, I didn't find any visible mold or anything, but it smelled horrible, and did smell horrible the whole time I was using it, and I hoped that would come out when I first washed the jumper, but it didn't. Yeah, so I kind of put this jumper to one side and didn't wear it for ages. And then I read, by complete chance, online somewhere, a trick with baking soda to get rid of smells from vintage clothing, but I figured, hey, this would count. And basically you put it in a bag, cover it in baking soda, not like cover it, I just use a little bit, but make sure there's soda on all of it, seal the plastic bag, and then leave it for 24 hours. then you come back, shake off the soda, wash it again if you're so inclined. I did, just because there was a lot of soda that stuck to it. And it comes out smelling, I wouldn't say beautiful, but neutral. So not stinky anymore, which is, yeah, a definite plus. And since then I've been wearing this jumper basically every day. Just to go back to why I call this mystery lamb's wool, when I went into the shop, they had this bargain basket, essentially of different yarns that weren't labelled, they were just in a bag, and they were like different size of cakes. I guess it was just leftovers from the cone maybe. And in any case, I got, I think it was a 500 gram bag of this stuff for something like £14, which is pretty good. And there was no further information other than it's Scottish lamb's wool and Aran weight. So I've no idea where it comes from, what brand it is. Maybe it's their own house brand, I don't know. I didn't ask either. But it's great. It's really hard wearing for a jumper. More about that later. It has started pilling ever so slightly, but as I say, considering I wear it just about every day, it's not much. And the colour is gorgeous. This is one of my favourite colours to knit with at the moment. I'm very much into natural colours. I also knit quite a lot of colourful things, but this is where my heart really belongs. This is not technically a natural colour, it has been dyed, but it's still on the natural spectrum of dyed shades, I would say. Yeah, so in terms of finished projects, I mean, I've never podcasted before, so theoretically every single thing I've ever knit is a finished product since the last time. But I won't go through every single item I've ever knit right now, although that maybe is something for later. But instead I'll show you what I've been working on just since, the beginning of this year. I'm actually going to start with a cheat immediately because I did this at the end of last year. This was a Christmas present for my man, but I love them so much I want to show them off. So these are the Lumi socks by Fibertails, and I knit these for him for Christmas because he spends a lot of time in our basement playing computer games and it's freezing cold down there. This was as much a knit for me as it was for him, because when he comes up from the basement in the evenings his feet are really cold and he likes to warm them on me. As you can imagine, not my favourite thing, so I figured nip the problem in the bud and do something about it. So these are, I mean, they're hugely thick, they're hugely baggy. He absolutely loves them. And they're made of Let Lopi. I actually held it double, and I didn't have enough left in my stash of one particular colour. So this is actually two different colours held together. You can see a little bit that there's a kind of a heathered effect going on. That's because I had a light blue and more of a aquamarine? Yeah, a light blue and kind of a light greeny blue. Let me see if I can find the two. Yes, so I held a light blue, it's actually not as light as I thought it was, and a greeny blue together, which made that effect. So it's these two colours. This is colour 1402 and this is colour 1404. And together they make this. I forget what colour this is at the top, it's just a dark blue for the Latvian braid. This was the first time I'd ever done a Latvian braid, and I was kind of nervous about doing it because I'd never read what techniques were actually involved, but it was super easy and I love it, and I think I'll put it on every single thing I knit from now on. Maybe not everything, but those were actually the first pair of adult size socks I'd ever knit. I had knit some for my niece before, she's 1.5, but at the time she was about 1 month old, so they were really small. And I knit some for a friend's baby as well, of the same age. But apparently that started something in me that I couldn't stop, and the next thing I knit were also socks. You can maybe see these are quite worn already. We'll ignore the sole for now. Yes, exactly. They do completely match my jumper because this is the leftovers of what I had left from this lamb's wool. And yeah, I mean, this was absolutely not suitable for socks, but as a not very experienced sock knitter, I assumed I knew better. And I only ever planned to wear them around the house, so I didn't expect to wear through them as quickly as I did. As it was, it took about 2 weeks before the first hole appeared. And I have darned them up not very expertly, also using pink wool because I have none of this left. But they're going strong. Well, I say they're going strong, I just noticed this one's got a massive hole in the foot that I hadn't noticed, so that's great. Homework. Anyway, these are the Tulip Sock by Melody Hoffman. So they've got this nice like scalloped effect on the top of the, what's it called, of the cuff, which I really like actually. I did it wrong about 4 times before I actually managed to do it correctly. But now that I have, I'm quite a fan. Unsurprisingly, these were knit on 4mm needles. Then once I'd done those, I decided that immediately that I needed to have some others because I saw how fast those wore through, and I figured it may not be a bad idea to have different ones in rotation. As I say, I'm working from home right now. I have been since I started this job, which is a really interesting way to start a new job, by the way. I've never seen all my colleagues in the same room together, and that's just my 4-person team. And, you know, it could be that 2 of them are actually the same person, and so far I'd never know. Anyway, yeah, so warm socks are exactly what I'm needing at home. And so I came up with these as well. This is very loosely based on I say loosely, these socks are actually using the same structure as the Tulip socks, but I made some differences as I went along. So these are them. Again, not a suitable yarn for socks. Again, what learned. And as you can see, they've got this eyelet detail that runs down the very front, down the back, and down the side as well. I think I went a little bit too far into the toe actually, because my little toe does peek out sometimes and that gets a bit uncomfortable, but as long as I'm not wearing them under boots, it's fine. And then in the back of the heel I did a moss stitch, or is it seed stitch? It's the one where you do 1 by 1 and then the next, so knit 1, purl 1, and then the next row you do purl 1, knit 1. Except no, you don't, because you do knit 1, purl 1 again, because it's back around the other way. In any case, you knit on the purls and you purl on the knits, which I really like the effect of. I can't imagine this would be a great idea if I was to wear these under boots, but they're too thick to be worn under anything else anyway. Yeah, this is Ravelry wool. It's their sport weight, so it's quite a loose gauge, but it's nice. In the colour Obsidian. And I love these. I could have gone a little bit higher with the leg height. I feel like they're a little bit short, but I wear them all the time, except right now, obviously, because they're here. Great. Yeah, so apart from all my socks, there are a few other things I've been working on. Now this one technically is neither on needle nor cable, but it's just come off it, so I feel it still counts, and it's not complete yet. So this is another project made with Let Lopi, and it's actually another one that I finished ages ago. Years ago, because I completed it when I was in Canada the last time, which was 2018. And it's the Skogafjell sweater jumper by Diana Walla. And as you can see, I used mostly the same colours as her. In fact, I did use entirely the same colours as she did in the original the first time around. More on that in a second. But the top is now in yellow, which makes it quite garish, and there's something quite 70s about it, like 70s ski jumper. But I'm okay with it. I quite like it. And certainly the contrast here is pretty nice. It's not been blocked yet, this section, so excuse the lumps and bumps. So when I first knitted it, I realised immediately that I'd made a grave error in sizing. This happens quite a lot to me. I tend to assume that my chest size is about 3 inches bigger than it actually is. So anything that then has positive ease has extremely positive ease, and in this case far too much. And with this I also decided that I wanted it longer, but being a bottom up sweater, I couldn't test it on myself until it was too late. So with the result that this reaches down, oh you can't see, with the result that this reaches down past my mid-thighs, and it could be a dress, but it's really scratchy, so I'm not wearing this just over tights. I love Let Low Be, but before it's actually worn in, it's pretty scratchy. And I have absolutely no problem with wearing it as a jumper, but on my legs it drives me crazy. I'm actually in a lot of discomfort right now because I'm wearing thin leggings. Yeah, so it was too long, the arms are too long, it's too wide, and add to that the neckline as well is absolutely huge. I rechecked it this time with the pattern to make sure that I hadn't done something extremely wrong, and I hadn't. I mean, the pattern tells you to cast off with 84 stitches still on the needles, and I like a relaxed fit, but I mean, as you can see here, but 84 stitches is a lot at this gauge. So this time around I decided, okay, backtrack a bit. I decided that this winter was the time to go back and fix all of my knits that I don't like for whatever reason. There's another jumper that I'll show you afterwards, which I completed a little bit before. I'll tell you more about that in a second. And this was the second project. So I decided that the first thing to do would be to go in and fix the neckline, because that would then give me an idea of what the length should look like, because I figured if I pull this in at the top, it might get a bit shorter anyway, and I didn't want to then make it too short. So I ripped back, this was originally grey, and I ripped back all the way down to here, so where the yellow starts, and re-knit up. And I reached my 84 stitches like here. I was supposed to do a tiny section of ribbing and cast off, and I was like, you won't get me a second time. So I kept going and I kept decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. I did a couple of extra short rows as well. You can see there's quite a big difference between the front and the back, because I found it that it was dropping too much at the back as well. So I think I did 2, maybe 3 extra short row rounds. And then I decided to skip the ribbing altogether, and I came down a needle size for the last 2 rows, and then cast off using a stretchy cast off that I can't remember the name of, and so it rolls over nicely like this. I really like this finish actually. Yeah, and it fits beautifully around the neck now. It's absolutely perfect. It's just what I wanted. So you can see now that I've got a stitch marker in here, which indicates where I want to rip back to. And as you can see, there's a hell of a lot of knitting below that. So and this is bottom up, so I'm gonna have to cut it, which I hate. So I'm gonna cut here and then do about this amount of ribbing again, and then it will be the correct length. I'm yet to decide whether I'm actually gonna do anything about the arms, because I do quite like having long arms to my jumpers. This one's quite a short one. I like them either to be this length or like this length, but I hate it when they're here. I don't know, I also don't wear watches, I don't wear bracelets. It drives me crazy if there's something grabbing my wrists. This is one that I was really unhappy with, but I think now it's gonna be one that I love, if it is a bit itchy. My next project that I've been working on is a half whip, half finished object, because I finished one of them, and it's not socks this time. It is mittens. And these are the Sildra mittens by Skein Deer Knits. And it's the first time I've knit mittens, and I love them. Here we go. They are the snuggliest things ever. And this was, yeah, first time doing mittens, so first time doing a thumb. There's something a bit dodgy appearing around here on camera. Interesting. It turns out I absolutely hate knitting thumbs, but there you go. It's at least quite a small part of the process. Because I really enjoyed the rest of it. I like the colour work. It's very memorisable because it's such a short pattern. And I love knitting colour work, but I especially like knitting colour work when there's so many points that you can check if you're in the right place. Like you've got this sort of ladder situation going up and down the sides, and there's quite a clear line down the middle. So it's really easy to notice if you've gone wrong very quickly. I'm getting better at reading my knitting generally, but something like this really helps because, yeah, you notice within about 5 to 10 stitches if you're like one out. So you don't go for rows and rows and then realize, oh crap. Because there's nothing worse than that feeling of having to rip out so much knitting. Yeah, so I've completed the left one totally. And this is a feat of knitting for me. I knitted all of this the other day, yesterday in fact, and then I knit all this yesterday evening, and I was pretty much cross-eyed by the time I went to bed. But now there's just the thumb left to do. You can see I've got it's on some waste yarn here, and then the right one will be done as well. So I will have 2 new mittens. Looks great like this. I mean, very practical for all the thumb work. I don't know, what do you do with your thumbs? What a stupid question. You do a lot of things with them. Anyway, yeah, so the temperature is supposed to be good down to -13 here this coming week. So I thought, well, I mean, if I'm not going to wear mittens now, when am I going to? It's time to do something about this. So I got my ass into gear and got the second one done. The yarn is some that I got with Isolda's Yarn Club last year. I think it's called, or it was called Echivera. And now it's called something different apparently. When I tried to look it up on Ravelry, it's like Isolda base number 2 or something. So I mentioned that this winter I decided was the winter that I was going to fix all my knits, and this is another one that I decided I needed to do something about. And this is actually, believe it or not, the very first jumper I ever knitted. It was not exactly the most simple one to start with. It's fingering weight. Why did I do that to myself? And then colour work as well, top-down colour work. So yeah, and it isn't like I was knitting a whole load of other things before that, or that I had been knitting a whole load of other things before that, and this was the first jumper. I hadn't knitted anything really before this. I'd done a scarf a few years back, and that was it. And I just decided, I saw this on Instagram, in fact I even know the account, it's Along Avec Anna. She posted a picture of hers and I was like, I need that jumper. Then I realised I couldn't buy it anywhere. It was a knitting pattern, and I was like, guess I'll just have to learn to knit then. And I did, and that's how this whole situation got started, was her and this jumper. Anyway, so this is it's knitted from Drops Flora, so a really affordable yarn. I'm trying to not to use drops so much these days because I'm trying to be more conscious about my yarn buying and knowing the origin of the yarns. But that being said, I love this jumper and the way it's turned out. It's so soft. Yeah, my one complaint with this was that it was too short. So it used to be about, I mean, you can't actually tell anything from this angle, but this is about my belly button, and it was about that length. Now there's a place for cropped jumpers, and I do like cropped jumpers, but this wasn't doing it for me as one of those, and I wasn't wearing it as much as I would have liked to. So I went in and I picked up the stitches. You can actually still kind of see where it was because the stitches haven't settled quite as much. So this side, I knit most of this 3 years ago, and then I knitted all of this like 2 months ago. So you can still see a little bit. I added this much in length on. And now it's the absolute perfect length. So I'm regaining myself 2 jumpers out of winter without having to knit whole new ones. Yay! And that really is everything that's actually finished at this stage. But I've got a few different things that I'm currently working on as well. So I'd like to show you those. I'll start with the thing that I'm really actually working on, because I've got quite a few that are just sitting around and waiting for me to come back to them. But the thing that I actually pick up and work on if I have a moment. So this is not in any nice project bag because I've run out of project bags. It's just kind of hanging around. Also, it's on stoppers because I pinch my needles to mitten with. And I stopped in the middle of the row, so it's in a really great place to show you what I've been doing. But anyway, this is the first part of a Vertices Unite shawl. And it's absolutely huge already, so I'm kind of wondering what the finished object is going to look like. Huge, I'm guessing. Yeah, and this, I've never knitted anything by Stephen West before, and I decided to bite the bullet and do this as my summer project. But Mary, you say, it's only February. Why are you doing your summer project now? Because I'm impatient, that's why. And I wanted to get started on this because I had all the yarn ready and I was very excited. What I also want to be special about this is it's going to be my summer project and it's going to be knit exclusively with German wool. So I've got lined up for this. So currently, yeah, let's start with what's currently in this. Right now I've got stripes of, so the beige, it's beige rather than white. No, I think you can see that. It's Ravelry Sport Weight in the colour Sand. That comes from Munich, which I live quite close to. I work in Munich, in fact, when I'm not at home. And I even work on the same S-Bahn line as the Ravelry shop, which is dangerous. But since I have only been to my workplace twice, 3 times since starting, it's been quite safe so far. My wallet thanks me. Yeah, so this is Ravelry. The shop's based in Munich and the wool comes from a flock somewhere within the Munich region. And it's also spun in Bavaria, a bit further south. So this is real German wool. And then the grey is from Rain Cloud and Sage. This is actually their very first yarn. I picked this up from Ruth on Instagram fairly recently. She was having a sale of her old stash yarns, and this was from the very first lot, so I'm really excited to have got that. It's glorious wool. It's really, see, the term rustic, I find it too vague, but this is rustic. I mean, it's got a proper good sheepy feel. It doesn't feel like it's been over processed to the point where it doesn't feel like wool anymore. It's got a lot of texture and it's kind of scratchy in a good way. I'm speaking to knitters, you know what I mean. Yeah, so these two work really well together. They're almost the same weight, not quite, but it works for this. And then for the remaining parts, I've got a few other colours. Actually, I think I've exclusively got Rain Cloud and Sage ones to go into the rest of it. Yeah, I really do. Again, all slightly different weights, but I foresee no problems with this because it's quite forgiving anyway. I've got some of her Nord base in the colour Zinf. Then I'm back to an Origin base. This is one of her naturally dyed colorways. I'm not sure what colour it is. It doesn't seem to say on it. I'm not sure if I knew in the first place, but I like the colour. It's, yeah, I mean, you can see why. And Then there's some more of her Nord, and the ball band fell off, but I've wedged it in here. Nord colorway, and this colorway is more chaff. So it's the natural undyed, just off-white. I have planned out how these are going to work with each other. So I think I'm going to pair, this is going to be by itself at one point, and then I'm going to pair these two, and yeah, so that's what I'm currently working on anytime that the need strikes to knit, because it's quite simple. I'm still at the point of increasing right now, so I'm just backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, and I don't need to think about it too much. Most of this has been done during Zoom calls with my friends, which is great because I can concentrate on the conversation and knit at the same time. Grand. Then, as I say, I've got a few other different things still on my needles / cable, waiting to be brought back to life again and to be loved once more. So let's have a look at those. Ooh, surprise! This one actually has needles, which means I've got 2 sets of 4mm. That's interesting to know. When did I buy those? This is in my Mondim project bag, quite fittingly, because this is Mondim wool. This is Mondim and La Bien-Aimée collaboration, and this is the colorway Quail. I confess it's not quite what I expected from the pictures. It's a little more purple than I was expecting. I thought it was grey and orange, but hey, that's what happens when you buy yarn online. And I do like it, even if it's not really the colour I'd normally gravitate towards. And I'm knitting, oh gosh, what am I knitting? I think it's the Be Happy shawl, but I can't remember. Anyway, it's a nice, reasonably simple one. It is asymmetric, and this is another first. This is, I've never knitted something asymmetric before, so it's really interesting to see how it knits up and how it is shaped. And I think it does really interesting things with this yarn as well, because I haven't alternated skeins at all. When I joined a new skein, I alternated the first few rows just so there wasn't a big jump, but otherwise I figured because there are so many short rows, alternating rows wouldn't necessarily help. There could still be pooling, so I decided just to not bother and see what comes out. Yeah, and it's an enjoyable knit. Again, a lot of short rows, but quite easy and not something I have to think about too much. It is eating up yarn though, and I'd hoped that I could do it with 2 skeins, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, so I'm going to have to buy a 3rd one, which means this is going to be the most expensive thing I've ever knitted, so I better bloody love it. Or maybe I'll give it to a present to someone, give it as a present to someone who will love it even more than me, maybe someone who's a fan of purple. Yeah, so not much to say about that. It's impossible to know how far I am into this, because I cannot imagine it with the short rows. I mean, I'm on a section now, this is where I've reached with my short rows, and I've still got, I go 5 stitches before the last short row gap, and then turn and go back again. So as you can see, I've got a lot still to do with this section, and then there's a whole other short row section, oh boy, with much the same pattern. So yeah, it's a lot. Definitely I won't have it ready this winter, that much I can be certain of, but that's okay. It allows me to spread the cost of La Bien-Aimée yarns. Thanks. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's probably a slightly new camera angle, and I'm feeling good. For camera battery reasons, I'm recording this on a separate day, so to the eagle-eyed among you, you may notice that perhaps something has changed in the background. I don't know, I tried to get it the same, but generally that doesn't work always, and my hair never looks the same one day to the next. So anyway, I'm back. Where were we? I think I was showing you projects that I have been working on for a while, so let's continue where we left off there. So the next one that I have on the cable is in this bag, which is far too big for it. It's a beautiful project bag by Pink Hazel that I picked up at Edinburgh Yarn Festival the last time it ran, 2019. Yeah, it must have been 2019. It was the first and so far only time I've been. I lived in Edinburgh for like 4 years, but it wasn't running while I was there. It only started, I think, the year I left. But mind you, I wasn't interested in knitting back then, so it would have been a waste. Anyway, where was I? Yeah. So I really like this project bag. I should probably actually use it for something that I'm currently doing rather than something that's languishing. Because this is languishing and has been languishing for quite a long time. Oh, that's interesting. The reason it's been languishing is it's a summer project, and right now it's -7 outside, so my knitting mojo for anything that isn't thick and warm is at an all-time low. I cannot even entertain the idea of wearing linen right now. Or not exclusively linen anyway. Yeah, so I've just opened this up and discovered that it is actually in fact on needles, but they're definitely the wrong ones. I must have needed the cable for something at some point, and I've just put this onto a 3.5mm needle with a very, very short cable, so we'll see how much we can actually see of this. So this is what it currently looks like. Oh, I have split for the sleeves, just by the looks of it. So this is the Anchor Summer Shirt by Petite Knit. So this is knit with Sandnes yarn. I can't remember exactly what the composition of the yarn is. It's linen and I think cotton. It's the Tin Line or Tin Line. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yarn in any case, and it's really nice to work with. Much nicer than I was expecting, I have to say. I am holding it double because the pattern called for a slightly thicker yarn than I had available, and that's kind of actually why it ground to a halt, because I originally bought only enough of this to do something else, knit single, but I hated it, so I ripped it all out again and started again with this. And this ground to a halt in, I think, about September last year, when I realised I wasn't going to finish it for the summer anyway, and I just couldn't be bothered, quite frankly. But I will order some more, and I'm going to continue with it because I really like this colour, and I really like the yoke detailing. So it's just rows and rows of ribbing essentially, but with like a slight offset between each row. If you had asked me a few years ago, and indeed if you ask me again now, whether I would ever entertain the possibility of knitting something with so much ribbing, I would have laughed in your face, because I absolutely hate knitting ribbing. There was a brief phase during which I knit this, thank God I got that section finished before my yarn ran out, where I was kind of okay with it because I taught myself how to knit. So I knit continental style. I started out learning English, but I've since discovered that I really prefer knitting continental, because I do something really weird with my fingers when I knit English, and I cannot shake the habit no matter how hard I try. Yeah, but I could only purl English, so I learned last year how to purl continental. Knit this apparently, but I've since realised that my gauge is like way off when I'm using continental purl, so I'm trying to work on knitting, like I knit really loosely in continental purl, and I'm trying to work on that to rein it in. But at the moment, everything else that I've been knitting with ribbing, I've reverted back to English style, which means English knit and English purl when I'm doing ribbing, because I cannot switch between the two so quickly. Yeah, so I was a reformed purl hater for approximately 2 months, I think, and now I'm back to hating it again. At least I know where I stand, I guess. I have tried the Norwegian purl method as well, but I mean, I say I tried. I gave it a shot after watching a YouTube video once, and oh, goodness me, there's a lot of stages that seem to be involved, but I think it probably is the answer for me, because I can't really get to grips with the continental style, and I hate the English style, so what other choices do I have? I guess I need to try that one. Anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting going on this again. I just noticed that attached to this I've got some needle stoppers, because these needles, this is how long the cable is, a bit short, to stop everything sliding off. And I've also got this little stitch marker, which I got at the Loch Ness Knit Fest from, I believe she's called TJ Frog, and it's a Dorset button, and it's really cute. I've got, I think, 5 of them, so you might see them on my projects. This is the first time I've spoken English today, by the way, so bear with me. Then I've got my Harris Tweed project pack, also bought at the Loch Ness Knit Fest, same time. That was also 2019, or was it 2018? Might be 2018 actually. Can't remember. In any case, it was, I come from Inverness, so I was really excited that there was a knit fest there, but didn't think I could get the time off. I didn't get the time off, but I decided to fly out on Friday evening, arrive on Saturday, surprise my mother, and we went to the Loch Ness Knit Fest together, and basically I was in Scotland for 24 hours, which is insane. It's not the first time I've done it. Actually, no, that was the first time I've done it, but I've done it again since, and it's not to be recommended. So much travelling, oh my god. Anyway, bought that at the Loch Ness Knit Fest. It's from the fabulous Mr. G, and she makes all sorts of lovely knit bags, yeah, project bags. This one's with Harris Tweed, which is one of my favourite fabrics. But she's got loads of different things. And in there is hiding this, which will be a mini unbearable hoodie. It was supposed to be a Christmas present for my niece, but I didn't get around to finishing it. I just kind of lost steam somewhere. I'm just about to start the colourwork section with the bears, which should be the fun part, but I don't know, I must have got distracted by something else. In any case, she didn't know she was getting it, so she got a hat instead, and I'll finish it. Fortunately, well, usually this is unfortunately, but in this case, fortunately, I actually cast on too many stitches and I'm knitting the wrong size, but it's the wrong size in a good way, so it's bigger. So it should still fit her whenever I actually get around to finishing it. And this is knit in Eden Cottage Yarns. It's their DK wool and silk mix. I've forgotten what exactly it's called, what a surprise. But it's really lovely to work with. It's I think the 3rd or 4th thing I've knit with this. I think I've knit exclusively baby things with this just because it just feels so nice. It's so soft to the skin, and I'm pretty sure it's a superwash as well, so it can be machine washed, can be washed in the washing machine, which is good for babies because messy. And yeah, it's nice to work with, it's nice to wear. So I've got this colour, I've got a dark purple colour, I think it's called Tulip or something, which I'm sure I read was discontinued, so I hope I've got enough. There's a grey as well, and I think that's all the colours I'll work with, but it's going to look super cute. I can't wait to see my niece in it. I'm still trying to decide whether I'm going to do the hood. The hood has like little ears, which look adorable. I've never knitted a hood before and I'm slightly apprehensive about it. I don't know why. I mean, I can't imagine that it's any more complicated than like a hat. That's it for everything in project bags. I do have one more project which has been lying under my desk. Well, not under my desk. I do have one other project that has been in the bookcase beside my desk for quite a long time. I think I was knitting on it while watching university webinars. I'm just coming to the end of my master's right now, and it was an exclusively online program, which was fortunate as it turned out because I did it in 2020. So there were a lot of online meetings and online presentations and things, so it's nice to have something to keep my hands busy while I was there. But I finished the online things a while ago, so this hasn't been touched for a while either. And this is a garment with a lot of history. I originally started this back in 2018, so the year that I first started knitting. And you'll see that it still isn't finished, which is, you know, a UFO of great proportions. However, I will justify it by saying that I've knitted all of this twice, and I've knitted a bit further this time. So this is the, or will be one day, Tecumseh sweater by Caitlin Hunter. I hope it will be sooner rather than later, because this is getting ridiculous now. So I've knit it in the exact same colours that she had in the sample. I wasn't very imaginative, but I really like how the colours work together. And this is in Phenol PT2. Yeah, I didn't know then, but I know now that phenol blooms quite nicely once it's been washed for the first time. So I'm pretty confident that this will fill out all the little gappy bits, and if not, well, it'll be a nice loose and light jumper, because it's really light. That's what I really like about it, even though I'm not finished yet. It will get heavier, of course, but it's really light for now. Yeah, so I knit, I think, drop this on the floor. I knit down to about here originally, but I really wasn't happy with how it was turning out. I'd made a mistake with the neckline. So bear in mind, this was the third thing I'd ever actually put my mind to knitting. I'd made a mistake with the collar. I'd omitted all the short rows, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I went back into the top, ripped it down, re-knitted back up, but then I bound it off too tightly and still omitted the short rows because I didn't see the point in them. Oh Mary, oh past Mary, what were you thinking? And then something went off with my tension, my gauge on the colour work. I was still learning how to do colour work at the time, and I've since learned that I need to go up an entire millimetre needle size when knitting colour work, because I do it so tight. So for something like this, which is alternating back and forth, you can really see the wobbly bits if I don't do it. So that looked rubbish, the neckline looked rubbish, and so I was just completely losing interest in it. But in that time, this had been so many different places with me. It came with me on holiday like 2 or 3 times. It went to Shetland with me. It went to Inverness with me. It's been all over Germany with me. So there was like this sentimental bit of me that was like, I can't get rid of it. It's got so many memories. But I bit the bullet and I just ripped the whole lot out and started again. The yarn has still been with me in all these places. So I feel that I haven't done it and I haven't done it in injustice, English, what is it, in ripping it out or ripping it back and starting again. And I mean, this time it wasn't just a few rows, I started it completely from scratch again. I also intended to cast on the smaller size this time because I realised I'd knitted it quite large the first time round, but I increased too much and I'm back at the original size now, so oh well. It'll be large, it'll be roomy. I just won't knit it super long. I've learned my lesson from my Skogafjell water, and it's quite relaxing to knit because, again, it's another colour work thing that you can check in how you're getting on. It's quite clear patterns, like very defined repeats. Well, I believe that's actually everything. But what I can show you is, since this is a new day and I had a whole evening yesterday, I've finished my mittens. They both have thumbs, yay! Which is good because, as I think I told you, the weather is taking a turn. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking outside right now and it's snowing. So I'm gonna take these for what's it called? I want to say a road run, but that's a field test. I can also take them for a road run. We'll see how I feel. To yeah, see how they work after this, because I haven't left the house since Saturday and it's now Wednesday, so I feel now might be the time, even if it is snowing. Anyway, they look great. Which was the one? This is the one I finished yesterday, so you can see there's a slight difference in terms of bumpiness and finishedness, because this one's been blocked and this one hasn't. So compared to the original pattern, I've actually inverted the contrast color and the main color, which was a delight when navigating the charts. That's not confusing at all. And I really like the way this turns out. It may be less traditionally Selbu mitten style, but it's much more my style, because I can't be dealing with white mittens. I mean, I can't wear a white t-shirt without fear of pouring something down it, and the fear is not unjustified, I must say, because coffee and me. In the end, I battled through the first chart, reading it backwards, and I mean backwards with inverted colors, but for the second one I inverted the colors on Photoshop and printed it out again because I just couldn't deal with it. And my friends, that is everything I have to show you right now. I'm super excited to actually finally get this channel up and running. It's something I've been thinking about for a really long time. And I hope that it can be the start of something good. Please feel free to let me know what you think. I would love it if you subscribe. And I would really love it if you leave a comment, because it's nice to know who's watching and what you've been working on. Tell me what you've been working on. Have you also got projects that have been sitting for absolutely ages because you just forgot about them, or you forgot that you needed to order extra yarn, and every time you go back to them you're like, oh yeah, that's why I'm not knitting this. Or that are sitting on scrap yarn because you salvaged your cable for something else that seemed more exciting at that moment. Been there, know that. So if all goes well, I'll record a podcast hopefully every couple of weeks. I am not the speediest knitter, so I think trying to persuade myself to do anything more than that could be a little ambitious, because I just wouldn't have anything to show or anything to talk about at that time. As I say, I am juggling work and a master's program right now, so it's also, I mean, it's an idiotic time to be starting anything more. But there you go. If you wait for the right time, then sometimes things just don't happen. I hope all's well with you. Hope you're keeping cozy, keeping safe, keeping healthy, wherever you are. And I look forward to chatting with you again next time. Bye.